And we're live. Welcome everyone to day 2 testing Tommo's race Chinwag post test 2024, and I'm a little bit early just to make up for every time I'm late. Welcome everyone. How are you all doing? Thank you all for joining me here live on YouTube. If you are here live on YouTube, if you're watching after the fact as well, or if you're listening audio only, Minton is here. So if you are listening in only, then I'm sorry. Okay, you're going to have to come over to YouTube, all right, and watch it after the fact. Because you can't watch it live because you're listening post. Regardless, hello Tina, Leela, Num, Fabrizio, Hank, Jago, Lassie, Jonas, Prabat, Elia, WZW, Milan, Nur, Stacy, Tix, Awkward, Lena, Astra, Tommy, Fintan, Ben, Laddie, or Lady, Hawks, Karina, F1 Unchained, Luke, Little Nick, Martin, Jamie, Lee, Casper. How are we doing, everyone? Thank you all for coming along. Thank you all for taking the time. And again, audio only, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Get to know. Let's talk about day 2 of testing, shall we? Bahrain, back again. Not so much flow viz today as yesterday, but the same 2 4-hour sessions that played out. This one slept through all 8 hours, didn't you? Look at him looking outside. I don't usually have the window open when I do these streams, but it's dark enough now, so that's... What are you looking at out there? What's out there that you're looking at? Spying on our neighbours. Well, yeah, okay, technically wasn't 2 4-hour sessions. It was kind of a 3-hour and a 4 and 10 minutes. But never mind, we'll get into it. Day 2, Bahrain. And honestly, we didn't have any red flags apart from the testing red flags and the testing VSC that they do, just to test their systems. No real incidents, just lap times, really. So this will probably be quite a short Chinwag because I'm not going to fill for the sake of filling. So, yes, Carlos Sainz goes quickest on day 2. Now, just like yesterday when we live streamed, the graphic at the top is day 2 in 2023. Graphic at the bottom is day 2 in 2024. So we've got a nice direct comparison of day 2 last year to day 2 this year. And Carlos Sainz leads the way. 129.921. He was the only, well, not the only person to do a lap on the C4. He did his lap on the C4. Checo did his lap on the C3. And am I right in saying that at Bahrain it's C3, 2 and 1? The C4 won't be used in the actual Bahrain race weekend, right? But obviously testing, everyone can use whatever compounds they like. So... yeah, Carlos smashed in some fairly early on actually. He put these laps in. He went quickest like 3 times, didn't he? And that 129.9 was with a good, at least 2 hours to go, I think it was anyway. Checo set his later in the day, as did Lewis on the C4s. Obviously last year you had Joe going quickest. What is interesting, the gap between the quickest time in day 2 this year and the quickest time in day 1 this year. Right, let me start that again. The quickest time, day 2 this year, and the quickest time, day 2 last year, is about, you can see, 131.6 from Zhou Guanyu, 129.9 from Carlos Sainz, about 1.5 seconds. The gap, day 1 this year versus day 1 last year, was also about 1.5 seconds. So have these cars at the top end gained about 1.5 seconds of performance around Bahrain? Perhaps. I wouldn't be shocked, honestly, by that kind of time delta. But yeah, honestly, not a huge amount to read into, with these times. At the end of the day, look, obviously, Max set a time that scared a lot of people yesterday. But, without context, the time that Carlos has set is quite scary. He was on a softer compound. But then he set it a lot earlier in the day when it was a bit hotter, when the track hadn't rubbed in as much as it had by the end. So also it was a quicker racetrack at the end of it that Carlos wasn't setting his lap time on. What was pole last year? They talked about this, cadaver. What was it? It was like a 29.2, I think. Can someone check? I think it was like a 29.2. I'm pretty sure they said 29.2. Commentary was so unhinged today. You know what, Emery? If you've got to be live for 8 hours, and trust me, I know what it's like. I remember doing last lap in Japan when it was raining and we were live. I had to get up at 3 o'clock to leave at 4 to get to the studio at 5 to go live at 5:30. And, yeah, boy. And, yeah, and then we had to do that full 4.5 hour live stream and then a little break and then a 4 hour podcast as well. So, how is it? 29.7. 29.7. Yeah, so science is only 2/10 off of pole. Although, again, the C4, you won't be able to use the C4 this weekend. Right, do you want to go down, mate? I feel like you're getting a bit antsy. So say bye to everyone. Goodbye, farewell. He's got ants in his pants today. This one. You can go back to sleep. Go on. Back into your snuggie. There you go. Perfect. Doggo he's always sleepy, Brian. He's always sleepy, you know. But yeah, obviously, the first session today was somewhat curtailed, wasn't it? Ferrari X-Trains. What a combination. It's funny because I saw race fans post an article like last week saying that Ferrari are still in conversations around, obviously in Vegas when the drain cover destroyed Carlos's floor and cost them loads, and they're still in discussions about that. And then what happens today? Charles Leclerc this time gets his floor damaged by a drain cover. Kind of on the edge of that curb. You can't really see in this image, but on the very edge of this curb there is drainage, and one of them just popped up. And I think Lewis went over it, and then Charles went over it, or something. They both hit it at some point anyway. And yeah, so that brought the morning session to an early halt. And I think actually Williams, I remember Alex talking in the commentary about, I think Logan was quite lucky because he had an issue at that kind of time. But everyone missed out because obviously the whole session was red flagged and we lost a good hour of running. So yeah, not ideal. But at the end of the day, I guess, it affected everyone equally. Right now Minton is now choosing. He's got 2 snuggies to choose from, and he's just deciding to what Minton? What are you doing? He's just like staring at it like point blank. Right, I'm picking him back up. He's back. He's back. The boy is back. But fortunately, Ferrari were able to get back out in the second half of the session, obviously with Carlos at the wheel. Charles was at the wheel at the first half. Carlos second. Carlos was able to go quickest. So not so bad. Is Williams' reliability seemingly an issue? I mean, you've got to say, like, if you're going to say any teams struggled, it would probably be Williams, wouldn't it? If you're going to say there's a team that's struggled more than any other, I would probably say Williams. Just, I don't know. I mean, Alex was talking in the coverage about how this is kind of a whole new car. You can see the Williams down the very bottom here. And this is a very different car. He doesn't expect it to be as much of a weapon in the straight line as it has been previously. He was like, it feels like I've gone to a different team. And that's the same team. The car just feels totally different. And obviously he's experienced a Toro Rosso. He's experienced a Red Bull. Now he's experienced a Williams. He also used to do Mercedes simulator work, did Alex, back in the day before he even joined Toro Rosso. Fun fact. So, yeah, I think if you're going to say any teams kind of struggled this test, it would probably be Williams. But even then, it's not been like a massive struggle. More so on day one. I mean, if you look at, let's have a look at how many laps. So today, you had Logan did 117 laps. Wow, yeah. which is not like crazy. I mean, Lewis did 123, Checo did 128, like Max did like 150. Didn't he do like 140 or something yesterday? Did a lot. So, you know, it's not ideal for Williams, but as long as they're learning their car, and it just, I don't know. I think quali is going to be a madness. I Q1 is going to be really like, which is what we want to see ultimately. I think in qualifying, now more than ever, the drivers are the ones making the difference, because these cars do seem to have, broadly speaking, converged when it comes to one lap pace. And I guess that's why, you know, a lot of people, I get it, right? You know, you see Max go as quick as he did yesterday relative to the field. But also, you know, one lap pace, I mean, obviously, like Red Bull will have improved, Ferrari have improved, everyone's improved, everyone's got quicker. Even Haas, you know, Komatsu was talking about how he's, you know, very, very satisfied with the progress they've made. But, you know, one lap pace, F1 is more competitive than it's ever been. Like, you look at the gaps, it's just in race, isn't it? And that's where obviously Haas are focusing on tyre preservation, because there's no point Haas going for one laps, is there? What's the point? Because they weren't even like Hulkenberg his average quality position was like 11th or whatever it was last year. Like, one lap pace isn't their issue, so they can't capitalise in the races. Minton I don't know how he looks sleepy, because he's been sleeping like all day. Look at him right now. He looks like he's just got a little torso with just legs and no arms. Like, just the way he's sitting right now on my TOMMO'S Racing Good t-shirt. Which, if you wear a medium, then I've got a good few of these left, and that's pretty much it. Why do you think McLaren aren't necessarily challenging Red Bull as much as expected? It's testing. It just, you know, I do kind of wish. I don't know, how could F1 make this testing feel more meaningful? And I say that in terms of like as an entertainment product, because there's not many sports that you broadcast the pre-season testing as like a full broadcast, you know? Do you think it would make it more interesting? Here's a point, right? So Super Gino, you've said, right? No one knows fuel loads. Would it be more interesting if there was literally on the graphic, it told you like fuel loads? There was something in the graphics which indicated how much fuel was in the car. Could that be a bit more interesting? Testing shouldn't be for entertainment. I don't agree with that. This is sport. Like, why shouldn't it be? Why shouldn't it be entertaining? I think it like to. Let me actually do a poll. Few of you are saying yes. Should fuel loads be visible during testing? What do you think? What do you think? Should fuel loads be visible during testing? I'm just trying to think. Like, go on, give me some. There's no way teams would sign on something like that. It shouldn't be. This team. I get what you're saying, fill in the blanks. They wouldn't sign off on it, but it shouldn't be their choice. Like, they don't own the sport. It would spoil the fun of guessing. Perhaps. But obviously, you still get the. I guess the thing is, even if you were to show it, you still could be like, yeah, well, the driver might just drive at 90% instead of 95%, just to go a bit slower, or just like, I don't know. I just feel like there's, because we want to. That's the reason there's, you know, almost 2,000 of you here watching this stream, me talking about what's happened, and the reason that so many people tune in for testing and there's so much coverage is because we want to get some kind of insight. Engine mode still exists. Yeah, it's true. Engine mode still exists. So yeah, maybe showing fuel loads wouldn't. I think it would actually benefit. We as fans would still be kind of in the dark, but actually probably it would inform the teams a bit more as to how everyone else is performing. So maybe that's not the, because it would still be a surprise though. Come on, you again you got fuel, you got different engine modes. You've still got again drivers just driving within themselves versus full push. It's okay to be. Listen, I just because it's like anything you talk about with testing, it's like, but it's just testing. So caveats, and it's just like maybe that's just the way it has to be. Maybe it's just the way it has to be. Spoils the magic of the first race. Well, that's why, Thomas, I was talking yesterday about the idea of, it would be nice to maybe have testing in a different location to the first race. I get obviously logistically that's adding another, but then also it's adding another opportunity for people to go and watch Formula One who wouldn't otherwise be able to watch Formula One. Although I was saying today, I think they had, is it people who have tickets for the Bahrain Grand Prix could have gone today as well, which is nice. But someone actually made a suggestion in the comments of yesterday's stream to be like, let like school kids, like F1 in schools, like let the kids that go and sit in the grandstands for like testing and like watch it all, which would be nice. That'd be very nice. You lot are pretty split. Should fuel loads be visible during testing? You're a bit split. To be honest, yeah. The more I think about it, the more it's like, there's still so many other factors that, again, engine modes, drivers, are they fully pushing really? Is testing, is it worth fully pushing? If it's going to show their hands, maybe not. Maybe not. There's a happy medium, yeah, perhaps. You're very fidgety today, Vincent. What other suggestions do we have, chat? Are there any other suggestions of changes you'd like to maybe see in testing going forward? Don't get me wrong. I'm in a privileged position, right? I can do work. I can have testing on the other screen and just watch it throughout the day. But it'd be interesting to hear if there's any suggestions how it could be even better. Even better. Make them run on all compounds. Yeah, because the teams get to choose which compounds they run. Again, I'm just trying to think how that would make things. I don't know how that would. It doesn't seem obvious to me how that would make it more entertaining, more interesting. No, just let the teams test, maybe. Ban Red Bull. No one's allowed to drink Red Bull during testing. Monster Energy and other energy drinks, I'm sure, are available. Add sprinklers for wet weather running. Well, it was raining for the F2 test, wasn't it? Like the week before. Mandatory quali sim on day 3 and last hour. That way we get all the cars doing hot laps at the same time. The thing is, because obviously we've got 1 week after testing, then we're back in Bahrain for FP1. Also races on Saturday, remember? Races on Saturday. So that's the thing. Quali on Friday, but not sprint weekend. Testing isn't so, but I don't. Why can it not be entertaining? Like the whole point of this, the whole point of F1 existing as a media product is to entertain. Without fans watching it, none of these sponsors would be invested, and the sport wouldn't exist. So what I'm saying is, yeah, it's not going to be wheel to wheel, but I'm saying that there is potentially more that can be done to make it more entertaining. It's pre-season, so what's the problem with trying to make something more entertaining? What's the downside to try and make it more entertaining? Go on, give me a downside to making testing more entertaining. Go on. Find that downside and give it to me, right? That's what. That's a very strange way of wording it. I think we had this discussion as well. I think having both. I think having two, especially if we're going to have testing at the same venue as the first Grand Prix, I think let each team run both cars. I think that's fair because you give all the drivers double the mileage. Yes, it makes things a bit more busy on track, but that's good. That is good testing. That's good testing for the pit teams, you know. So I reckon, for me, yeah, I would allow both cars. I know Fernando's been talking about it a lot. I'd allow both cars, especially as, you know, they're going to have the two cars in Bahrain anyway for the race. Just bring both cars the week earlier, have both cars test so that both drivers can get their full. I wouldn't so much be like trying to mandate reserve drivers like being in the cars for testing. I wouldn't, because I'm not so fussed about that. Reserve driver kart race. Yeah, the reserve driver. Make it multi-class, right? Have all 20 drivers, have all 20 drivers out in their F1 cars, and then have all 10 reserve drivers in karts on the track at the same time, and it's multi-class, you know? That'd be entertaining. That'd be dangerous as well. It'd be very dangerous. Thank you, Lucas, for the super chat. On topic of fuel load, no, because it's just one factor that still would not really help because you don't know chassis/aero setup. If it did work, it would just spoil quali. You know, and again, like the mystery for sure is you don't want. It's what, you know, a lot of the criticism around sprint races is that it's a spoiler for what's going to actually happen. But again, I think having both cars for each team out doesn't make it any less, you know, of a surprise, because I mean, you're just giving the drivers a bit more time in their cars, teams a bit more time to get on top of their procedures, because, you know, both race teams, I think Bernie Collins was talking about it, like it gets a bit too many cooks sometimes, because obviously these teams are used to having two cars that they've got to run, and when they've only got one car to run and everyone's there just like tripping over each other, being like, you just don't need that, you know. You just don't need. Look at him. What are you playing at? Two runs. Has Alonso actually mentioned the two cars? I'm assuming that would make sense, because I don't think any more days of testing is necessary. I mean, there's still 24 hours of testing in total, but obviously that is then split, and that is the maximum amount of time. So we lost a good hour today, for example. So it's only now 23 hours of testing. But yeah. Imagine driving 400 laps across 3 days. The driver's necks would kill. They'd be fine. They'd be fine, Adam. I think they'd be fine. Like maybe any like first season rookies would struggle, but I think I haven't heard any drivers complaining about. And Bahrain isn't the most physically demanding circuit because it's pretty much majority slow speed corners, isn't it? It's not like we're testing in Suzuka. That would be a bit different. Thank you for the super chat, Brandon, by the way. Shout out. Set bonuses for the teams based on mileage completed, fastest lap and highest top speed. Interesting. Could work. Could maybe work, Brandon. I guess it's just like, again, how much do you want to encourage these teams to show before we go? Because also, again, I think quali is so tight now. We have to look at these things based off of the competitiveness of the sport right now. And yes, of course, one of those cars is Max in a Red Bull, who's just going to take off and probably is going to win this season. Not as convincingly as last year, but still win it pretty convincingly. But the remaining 19, there's a super interesting scrap there, for sure. That would be very interesting. I'd love it if just Andretti just showed up. That'd be great. Thank you, Leslie, as well, for the super chat. What I think will work well is that every driver needs to do one push lap. No need to discuss fuel load, time, you push tyres, whatever. Just mystery. Well, I mean, typically on at the end of the third day, you get everyone doing going hell for leather. But then also, like, how do you define a push lap? It's like, what, is you got to put on a certain set of tyres? But then the driver could just dilly-dally around if they wanted. So, yeah, I think just 2 cars. I think 2 cars would do it for me. You're seeing more. You're seeing literally double the amount of cars out on track. They've got to manage their space and not get in each other's way, which is exactly what they do in Q1. And, free practice. That'd do for me. That'd do for me. Well, Helita, I think we're just about to wrap up here, to be honest, because, again, today's been pretty dry in terms of topics, but I think we're getting there. Why would you make testing more entertaining? It's about the teams and the technical stuff, not for fan spectacle. Well, why don't I don't understand that point, Daniel. I really don't. Because why are we putting it on the telly then? Why are we why can't we? I'm not saying it has to be the number. Of course it's testing, but I'm saying why can't it also be? Why can't we also think about it as from an entertainment point of view? Having 2 cars out on track, the drivers would prefer it. I think the teams would prefer it from, bits I've heard from people working in terms of not tripping over each other and having more time to spread between both cars to work on all the systems and do that, right? Why wouldn't we at least try to make it as entertaining as possible? If it doesn't, if there's no negative impact on the ability for the teams to test and practice, because also there's an argument, you give the teams too much time to test and practice like they used to have back in the day when they used to just have unlimited and they'd just go crazy on it, that, all of a sudden you're in a place where everyone is so well drilled that there's just zero unpredictability. I mean, part of what makes sprint weekends, some certain sprint weekends anyway, not all of them, interesting is the lack of running. You get one FP1 session and all of a sudden some teams get caught out. But it's a fine line. I don't think it's a problem at all. I just think I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at something and being like, oh, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, I'm saying it's not broken, but there's always scope for things to be better, That's the way I see it. There's no unpredictability. Yeah, I know, Thomas, not with Max and Red Bull specifically, but again, they're it is weird. It's weird, isn't it? It is weird. Because you look at how, the gap front to back in 1 lap pace is closer than it's ever been. Factually, that is a fact. It is. Yet, that Red Bull with Max in it, and I think that's the really key thing. Max is the differentiating factor that is making that car dominant. And unfortunately, in a sport like F1, individual dominance isn't inherently entertaining like individual dominance. And I mean, people get bored with dominance in all sports, but the act of being exceptional in Formula One, in this instance, is Max putting it on pole and then driving away and just hot lapping. Where in other sports, if Messi's doing his thing, the clips speak for themselves. Ronaldo as well. Okay, Messi is better, but just trigger all the Ronaldo fans out there. And yeah, Max is the differentiating factor there that's taking that car from, which is certainly arguably the greatest F1 car of all time, up there with the 92 Williams, 2004 Ferrari. But again, those cars don't showcase what they do without a fleshy human being behind the wheel. So there you go. Right, I think we're about done. That's what, half an hour of waffle, mainly just talking about potential changes to testing. I think we should always try and make things better, even if they're good. I still think it's good. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Cheers, Alex, Otter, Hot Pays, AV, OG, Patrick, Ital, Ziga, Cowrie, Bam, Henry, Arhan, Dante. Andrew, thank you for the super chat. Imagine if they let Andretti 2 test him. Well, talking of Andretti, I literally just, during testing, I put out a little impromptu video, which you should check out now if you want. Which, I mean, I'm quite happy with this thumbnail. Your move, Andretti. Once again, Audi, their future in Formula One is being questioned somewhat. We've seen articles from Autosport and Reuters talking about movements in senior Audi personnel who were advocating. Basically, both of the fellas, in fact, let me get I'll have a picture here. Both of the fellas who were standing by the car when Audi was announced are now no longer part. Well, one of them isn't. There's a massive picture, so I'm just going to have to drag this. So you got fella on the right's gone. He's gone. And the fella on the left is potentially going to be gotten rid of. So, it's not a good look. But yeah. Anyway, check that out if you haven't already. Thank you for coming. Appreciate you all taking the time. And I'll see you tomorrow for day 3 roundup of testing. Okay? My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-ra, ta-da. However you say it. Bye. Bye-bye-bye.